Hello and welcome back to Alpha Tauri. We're in Las Vegas for round 21 or 23 here in the second season of Alpha Tauri. Things are looking pretty good as things stand. 117 points after Brazil, McLaren on 64. I don't think they actually picked up any points in Brazil. Meanwhile, we picked up some. So strengthening our hold on fifth. Obviously, zero chance of doing any more than that. And quite frankly, I don't really see the top five changing at all. Alpine still have a chance again in McLaren. And quite frankly, the way, more specifically, just Zhou Guan Yu is getting on recently, I think Williams genuinely have a chance at seventh. And of course, Alfa Romeo and Haas, if there's a madness in these last three races, if they can pick up a point and not be worst of all, I'm sure they'd enjoy that. We still only have one new underfloor, so Alex still only has that one, but Yuki does have the new chassis this time. Of course, there's no spare, so emergency measures will have to be taken if we lose one kind of in between a session where you can't just change them up and put an old one on, because the game still hasn't worked out how to do that, seemingly. But also doesn't seem to be in the 1.8 patch that either, so I'm not sure they're fully aware of it. I may have to bring that up. However, that's it. It's a normal weekend again here at Las Vegas, so I'll see you for qualifying after 3 rounds of practice. Practices negotiated perfectly fine. Still lacking a tiny bit of car part knowledge with Alex. We're also at that part of the season where we are truly using the worst of the worst when it comes to car parts in practice. And let's be honest, the rest isn't that great either. Functional for now. So as I send my drivers out for their initial double flying runs, I've had a thought about how the format of next year will go. The 2 races per episode thing is going to be a thing. But I think I'm going to try and switch up the style a little bit. I was originally going to change up the style a little bit for this anyway, and then just kind of settle back into the old format as soon as I click record on the first episode. So it is quite difficult for someone like me, just the way I'm wired, to kind of change up something that has worked for me. So that proved the case when I clicked record on that first ever episode of this Alpha Tauri Savers. We kind of continued as we went on, just with a little bit more confidence, a little bit more polish, in my opinion anyway. But something also has kind of come across my attention that I kind of had overlooked up to this point. And just so we don't get the engine noises kind of in the background. And that's Football Manager. Football Manager's official release is November the 6th, which is a Monday, which is a tad odd. Typically, the beta is 2 weeks earlier, which means it would probably come out the same week as the final week of uploads for Season 3 of this, which could cause a little bit of a problem on that front, as Alexander Albon gets caught on Fernando Alonso there on his first flying lap. But we may have to negotiate a couple of uploads for that week. Now, the Monday one might be fine, just because it's going to be on a Monday in both cases. But obviously, I will have to give Football Manager the primary focus of the channel once it releases. Tell you what, their second flying laps might be really solidly empty. I know what I'm going to do. But of course, the thing with Football Manager is the landscape of Football Manager style of uploads really has changed dramatically over the last kind of year or so. And kind of the classic old style, which I enjoy, is not quite as popular as it used to be. So the beta save is a kind of a short-term save anyway, so you can kind of get away with that being in the more classic style. But after the beta save, I'm still not really 100% sure what Football Manager uploads will look like. More likely to be like half season or full season check-ins. But I know what my beta save is going to be. I know what my long-term Twitch save hopefully is going to be on that side, but it is going to require an extended database, because I do intend to take a team from below the 6th tier English football. Ocon's had a mare there. To be fair, Verstappen's had a problem there clearly as well. Sorry, Nick De Vries has gone faster than Hamilton. I think Verstappen will get a full flying lap in before we even consider going out. Or almost, anyway. Mind you, he's having to deal with a lot of traffic as well. So, actually, I dare say, if we send our cars out now, because we will have to go again, for sure, because Verstappen, Gasly, Ocon's actually done a second flying lap already, and it is slower. Although apparently he is in the pits, so maybe he will do a third flying lap. Stroll here is on a flying lap. Hulkenberg's in 7th and on a flying lap now as well. Magnussen is on an out lap. Stroll and Hulkenberg could be problems being on an in lap when we want to be on a flying lap. But aside from them, this could be the good moment to send them out. Oh, I've massively misjudged basically how the scope of the track pans out. Stroll and Hulkenberg are miles ahead. This Williams is either going to be a problem or a help, as it has got up to speed just in time for us to maybe catch a slipstream off it. I don't really think we're in too much danger. Stroll's 17th and on an in-lap. Ocon did come out again for a 3rd time. Magnussen has crossed the line for an in-lap. So that's 3 people guaranteed out. The Alpines are next across the line, I think. Gasly stays worst of all. Okay, so Ocon's literally started his flying lap like 2 seconds before the checkered flag fell, which is annoying because Bottas and Piastri are behind us on track as well. So we can't just dive in the pits feeling safe just yet because there are still 3 people that can put us out. 4 when you include Zhou Guanyu, who is literally directly ahead of us. Albon went 4th. Sonoda's gone 6th. What? I mean, that's increasingly baffling from the fact that Zhou Guanyu didn't improve, it seems. 144.4, 134.7, 34, sorry. Albon was 6 tenths faster. I mean, it's not that much between them, but it's 6 tenths ahead of Zhou Guanyu. Doesn't look like Piastri improved or Bottas in the end. Ocon still to come, but it did require 2 people. Ocon did do go better, actually, so it did require Bottas and Piastri to also go better for Alex to be in danger by the point we crossed the line, but we still could just risk coming in. Huh, that's interesting. Oh, the difference for Yuki was the fact he did that on the same tyre. I accidentally didn't change his tyres there. Whoops. I mean, that makes his time even more impressive and also highlights the problem with tyres. I've said it before, tyre wear, particularly with soft tyres, needs to be, I think, is a reverse sinusoidal graph, basically. So it's a dramatic drop off to begin with, and then kind of evens out a bit, and then drops off dramatically again at the end. But get that confidence. I mean, it's interesting that we came out with it in a pack of cars as well, because that doesn't normally happen. Albon is slipstreaming someone there. Right, remember to change Tsunoda's tyres this time, as Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, and Russell are all slower. Verstappen, Leclerc, and Sainz and Russell have all come out well in advance. Verstappen's literally about to finish his lap. I've no idea if we've done this right. Verstappen hasn't improved. Oh, no, it was registering him being on a flying lap because he was on the approach to the start-finish line. That makes more sense, which means actually we'll end up getting caught up on him when we do our flying lap, I think. Could be a problem. We'll go on board with Tsunoda for this, though, because unlike recent trends, Albon is ahead of him. For some reason, Alex has struggled in comparison to Yuki in recent weeks. Still don't really know why. But I've got an awful feeling we're about to catch Max Verstappen. We should actually get him on the straight. Yuki might have more of an issue here, actually, because I don't think Max will slow down enough and we won't catch him by the corner. As long as we catch him after the corner, it might be okay, rather than in it. Yep. Okay, that was... Yeah, the worst part would have been getting him on an apex, but we didn't. So we're all good there. Someone else has just popped in time. That was Russell going ahead. The Williamses, good lord, 4th and 6th. Their times are locked in. Passing a Ferrari that has done their lap. One of the Ferraris is out. Ocon crosses the line or hasn't made the checkered flag. One of the two. Oh god, what's happened here? What are you doing? What are you doing? That is unbelievable. Also, what? Yuki's been royally mugged off there. I think it just backed him into Perez. Of course, there won't be a penalty there because that's not coded into the game, but what? Is everyone actually done, though? Norris is on a flying lap, but that's not enough. So Tsunoda's been mugged off there. Actually, Norris might have just had a similar problem because he just caught a Ferrari that was finishing a lap, an in-lap. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That needs fixing. Have to be a little more tactical in Q3, as you don't want to get caught on people doing a out-lap or in-lap when you're doing your flying one. So we've waited a little while and done 1 lap on manual in the hopes that we just won't really get caught up with anyone. Actually, we're maybe in a similar boat as to the end of Q1, where we've just caught someone doing a flying lap. And we didn't get quite close enough to the Williams, although they're immediately going to have to negotiate a Red Bull that's come out just as we all start our flying laps. I thought we'd avoid this. So there's some kind of witchcraft going on with those Williamses who have just shot up the rankings in terms of car performance. Like, they are pulling a McLaren right now. An IRL McLaren. Yeah. We've come out a little earlier this time round because I think it might be the optimal point. Weird actually that we're not being listed as being on an outlap here. Oh, we are just going to catch... We're going to be slipstreaming a Red Bull here. As we go on Albon, we are slipstreaming a Red Bull. We've got a Williams directly behind us, which is annoyingly faster at this point in time, of course, but it's Zhou Guanyu who basically killed Yuki Tsunoda's chances of getting into Q3. Wish there was some kind of karma we could enact there, but apparently not. But crucially, we'll be following the now 4-time world champion Max Verstappen, which I don't think really is a bad thing to be doing. Alonso has put in their time. They have gone provisional second. It is actually interesting where the switch from outlap to flying lap actually happens. It happens on the back straight before you even go through that little chicane onto the pit straight. So it does show you where they start pushing, and crucially means we are absolutely not going to catch anyone. But it's the 2 Mercedeses who will cross the line next, having completed their laps. I think they both got caught on people, but then immediately annoy other people who are just starting their laps. So that could work in our favour because Sainz is one of those, and they are the only person behind Albon at this point in time. I mean, it is worth pointing out we haven't really lost touch on Verstappen here. I genuinely don't think we're actually any further back than we were when we started our lap, so this is good showing from Alex. He, of course, did a 1:34.4, I think it was, in the first round of... Oh my good God. What have we just done? I mean, I know there was slipstreaming involved there, but that is a 1:33.8. Sergio Rain, don't forget, has the slipstream of us directly behind us and has gone 1/10 behind. That's why that's happened. What have we just done? It's not our first, of course, because of Yuki Tsunoda in Monza last year, but that was in the era when we could absolutely exploit the fact that cars don't start their laps at full speed. That's, you know, that was like the optimum track for that problem. They fixed that problem, as you can see here, from where the people start their flying laps. Cars get up to speed before they start the laps now. So that is a legitimate pole when all of the cars are going as quickly as fast as they can. That is purely because of slipstreaming. Don't get me wrong, we have cheesed a system, but we have not gamed the game itself. We have gamed the actual mechanical benefits of being behind another car, and everyone has completed their lap at this point in time. We are on pole. Perez has slipped in between ourselves and Zhou Guan Yu. I mean, it's going to ruin his confidence over the course of the actual race. And as the notification comes in, that has reminded me, Tsunoda wasn't on pole, he inherited pole. Sergio Perez has a penalty, in fact, as well for this one, so even if he had gone fastest, we would have once again inherited pole. And just to put that into context, by the way, that is actually just straight up the second fastest lap of the entire qualifying session. Sergio Perez did a fractionally faster one in Q1, but he and Perez are the only two people to have got into the 1:33s. Considering how Alex has been running recently, what? Also, not gonna lie, seeing what he's just done there, even more annoyed at Zhou Guan Yu for what he did to Tsunoda. That's such a shame for Valtteri Bottas, by the way. One of his higher qualifyings of the year, and he has a penalty. Also, I didn't mention it at the time, but Leclerc was 15th in qualifying at Sao Paulo, which was the first time he hadn't made Q3 all year. He's failed again at this hurdle, so regardless of whether or not you count the sprint or the actual qualifying as the qualifying result, he is now no longer in the top 10 for a race on qualifying alone. He might still get it because of Perez, obviously, but which means the only person to have made Q3 in every single race this year is Fernando Alonso, who continues it this time in 5th. Max qualified 19th at Belgium. Not even the world champion has done it. Only Fernando. Obviously, I can't do the sponsor bonus. That is 13 seconds faster. I think no matter what, you start on a soft here, but I'd just like to make this clear, by the way. I would have done soft, medium, soft with Yuki Tsunoda if he had been given his Q3 tyre, which obviously he didn't get access to through qualifying, but he would have been given access to in the race. But of course he doesn't have it, so I can't do that. I guess it's time to find out how this race is going to go wrong. I mean, that's ridiculous. Unsurprisingly, focusing on him. But the fact is that AlphaTauri from a Williams is insane. Also, genuine question here as well.
The atmosphere is electric here for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
With the way the Williams are going, are we actually in danger of them getting 5th? Like Alpine, almost guaranteed, as Zhou Guan Yu takes Albon immediately, but the Alpines guaranteed to be usurped by Zhou Guan Yu if they finish in the top 4. They're only 20 points behind. Alex is, having to go back at them. Verstappen must be wondering what the hell is going on here. He's got an AlphaTauri and a Williams ahead of him. He's got a Williams behind him, followed by Alonso, which isn't that surprising. But much genuine. I mean, Tsunoda's got Hulkenberg behind as well. Perez's penalty only enough to take him 11, it seems. But Verstappen has already sealed the world title at this point. But if he hadn't, he would have been overjoyed at the way this is set up for him. His nearest rival is 11th. His next nearest rival is 9th, having taken Ocon off the line, I assume. This is witchcraft, as Albon basically just tries to connect himself to Zhou Guan Yu's rear bumper. Wait for everyone to cross the line. We'll just see if anyone's actually got an ailing vehicle, because I suspect the Ferraris aren't up to full speed. Leclerc doesn't have a gearbox. Sainz is just... yeah. Piastri doesn't have a gearbox. Verstappen doesn't really have an engine. That's maybe why he was a little bit off the pace in qualifying. Perez has obviously taken a penalty for an engine. Ocon's engine isn't superb. Gasly's is worse. Zhou Guan Yu's gearbox. What the hell is Zhou Guan Yu on, then? How has he managed to do A, qualifying on that, and B, have that kind of off the line? Stroll doesn't really have an engine, and Alonso's fine. Well, that makes Zhou Guan Yu even more confusing, then. Obviously, we need to go full hard push on the first couple of laps, because everyone else will, as the poor Ricciardo, Magnussen, Bottas trio at the back has already become detached. Also, I didn't notice Verstappen, I think, was on... No, okay. 6 on softs. The next 5 on mediums. Then 3 more on softs. Hulkenberg, Stroll on mediums. And then Gasly on softs. Not really getting the benefit of them being behind Hulkenberg and Stroll. Similarly, Ricardo maybe holding up Magnussen a little bit, although those hazards are terrible now. What on earth? What on earth? I mean, I feel like we're going to have a world podium no matter what happens in this race. Might be worth actually pointing out here. Hamilton not holding on. Whatever pace Zhou Guanyu is doing, Hamilton is going slower than it and is subsequently holding up Sainz, Ocon, Perez, Leclerc, Norris, Piastri and Tsunoda. Now obviously ERS is no longer something we can push because it's limited to begin with, but well, DRS is now active, of course. I don't think that's the place to really go for it. I think the back straight is the better place. Sorry, Tsunoda did a madness. Off camera, Tsunoda just did a madness. He got both McLarens. Alexander Albon did the best overtake of all time. Oh my, that is incredible as well. Tsunoda, trying not to be outdone by Alexander Albon's opportunism at Brazil, has pulled out almost as good of a move. Now bear in mind, actually, our drivers are quite good on their smoothness, both of them. Now whatever's going on the front has actually put Hamilton back into range, but it's put Ocon out of it. And Leclerc for that matter, who seems to be struggling. Albon's taken Zhou as we momentarily took our eye off the lead. Second DRS? No, it's before the DRS. Excellent work. As Zhou Guanyu doesn't have the DRS. So Verstappen is now going to get him. De Vries might get him as well. He might be down to 4th by the time he gets through this chicane. Tsunoda's up to 11th. I wish I could have done a bonus purely on Tsunoda, but sorry, that's Leclerc he's taken. He doesn't have DRS in fairness, and he's on medium tyres, but witchcraft. We have effectively pushed him for an extra lap there, but that was kind of a crucial one to do. I don't really think they're much over on their tyres despite pushing them. Hamilton did fastest lap to get back in range. I think really fuel is done now, unfortunately. We'll keep an eye on the tyres because I don't know how badly we're melting them. Now, unsurprisingly, Verstappen is about to happen, although Alex is defending like a lion here. De Vries is taking Zhou Guanyu and Alonso's having a look at Zhou Guanyu as well. That suboptimal car might actually be playing out in the race as he's down to 5th now, as Verstappen does take out Albon. I think I was that surprised that Albon was in the lead. I called him Hamilton there. I might as well rewatch it, but don't get me wrong. We're not getting this race win unless Max Verstappen crashes. That's the only way we win this race. I think, frankly, we probably need Alonso to crash out as well for it to be a thing. Like, both Verstappen and Alonso are coming through by the end of this race. There might be enough pace in both us and the Williamses to hold off things like the McLarens, the Mercedes, well, the McLarens too, obviously, but the Mercedes is what I meant. And possibly the Ferraris, if they're not up to speed. But crucially, of course, we're also now slipstreaming and DRSing Max Verstappen. So as long as we have the pace to do that, the way that we're running the cars, we might be all right, although De Vries has just slipped up the inside regardless. We'll fight him back, as we both have DRS on Max Verstappen. De Vries might go around the outside here and get Max, which he has done. Interesting. Nick De Vries is leading a race, everyone. Meanwhile, interesting this, both cars with DRS. Yuki's been opportunistic again. Same move he did on Norris. Caught Ocon sleeping. Follows Perez. Staying in Perez's DRS for Tsunoda is actually sensational. So Zhou Guanyu does appear to be struggling a little bit more in the actual race, which bodes well for, well, Alpine, but for us as well. Because if they pull out that kind of result in the last 3 races, like generally like popping in maybe sort of 30-point hauls, let's say, over the last 3 races, that would put them into range with us by the end of the season, if we ourselves didn't put in a reasonable haul. I think as long as we can stay in touch with Verstappen and De Vries as it is, I think we'll be okay. Although they are pulling away, which concerns me. Was Max the one without DRS there? Because we're fighting Max all of a sudden, and De Vries is getting away. This is a great old little fight, because Alonso's in it as well. Like I say, Zhou Guanyu's struggling a little bit, but it's kind of almost like a 4-man fight for the lead here, involving Nick De Vries of all people, Alex, Max and Fernando, because Max temporarily down to 4th, as Alonso's now got him. Don't forget Max Verstappen was in the lead last lap, pretty much. So it's now Alex on De Vries. Oh yeah, Leclerc is really struggling with his car, evidently. He is 2 seconds behind Tsunoda now. But everyone's actually in DRS in this top 10. De Vries / Albon / Alonso / Verstappen, whoever's in the lead at the end of the lap, is basically pulling along the rest of the top 10. I can't watch every overtake as a highlight. We'll be here all bloody day. The lead changes hands every lap. Alonso's now going for it. Alonso's now in 2nd. We're on track for our pit stop. My concern is, though, if we pit into traffic, the overall strategy is faster, as both ourselves and Alonso get through De Vries on that lap. So it's now Fernando from Alex, from De Vries, from Verstappen, sorry, from De Vries. De Vries down to 4th at the end of that lap. He went from 1st to 4th. This is madness. There's no carnage, but it's great overtaking action. Largely DRS initiated, admittedly, but Perez has got sights. Russell's got Zhou Guanyu as well. Well, sort of. The problem is, whilst we are running up here, I mean, these are all on softs, everyone up here, so they'll all pit roughly the same time, I'd imagine. Because my concern, of course, is we're keeping pace with this lot, but we're doing a two-stop strategy, which means we're going to pit earlier than the medium runners, or a one-stop strategy would. Sorry, hang on. We've done another Ferrari. They're really struggling. But we're going to pit earlier than a one-stop strategy would, which would obviously pit us into traffic in theory and lose the DRS that may be helping us. But if everyone is pitting roughly the same time in this front six, because looking at the way their tyres are, only Verstappen might be pitting maybe a lap or two later. Everyone else is kind of in the same ballpark. Also worth noting, fuel is not coming back. Like, we're in the pit window now, but we're going to have to react to pits. I feel like we've broken away a little bit there. Everyone seems to be a little bit more spread out this lap. And don't get me wrong, Fernando doesn't have DRS, so he's going to get Max back in range again. But we did identical laps as well. Everyone does seem to be a little bit more spread out. Russell went for Zhou Guanyu at one point, but now he's behind Hamilton, which is odd. As maybe the medium tyres are having a little bit more benefit now. But we've basically got to extend our stints. Actually, Yuki's struggling a little bit more, whatever reason, with his tyres. Maybe it's just because he's in more dirty air. Sainz got him back, actually. Oh, there's a yellow flag somewhere. It's Lando Norris. It did look like it was a McLaren. It said crash. Oh, he's just driven into the wall. I'm not quite sure it warranted that response. Because the problem is, we pit, we come out at the back. Now, there's an advantage if we come out between Ricciardo and Magnussen, or between Bottas and Hülkenberg, because there's kind of 5-second gaps between both of those sets, which we can exploit whilst other people then pit. Oh, he's done his tyres in as Norris. So got Sainz back as well. So we're going to ignore our pit stop window because we need to maintain DRS, basically. We need to stay with this lot as best as we can. Now, Tsunoda is actually separated, and maybe it's because of Sainz, maybe it's Tsunoda's own pace, but Tsunoda is separated. So Tsunoda pitting earlier is not as much of a problem because he doesn't have DRS on anyone. Perez has got through Russell as well, for good measure. So estimated position for Yuki is 19th. Which is ahead of Ricciardo. No, it's behind Ricciardo, which I don't think is necessarily terrible. It's a lap we were going to pit him anyway, so let's do that. Just let him go all out on this lap. Maybe try and nip in ahead of Ricciardo by the time he gets out, but we're watching Norris for some reason. So Alex third currently. It is Verstappen and Alonso, but he hasn't lost them, crucially. And unless he loses DRS on them, we're not pitting him. Or if they pit, of course. I think the notification that someone's pitting actually comes quite early. It might be worth actually being on the pit entry page, just to make sure we do react in time if they dive in, because if they're ahead of us when they pit, then that's, you know, a problem. All right, so Tsunoda has actually come out in 16th, despite being predicted 19th. He's come out in 16th, immediately just directly ahead of Bottas and Magnussen, who he's, I think, given DRS to maybe, but crucially stays ahead of them. A nice 6-second gap to Hülkenberg. Might work in his favour there. Perez is up to 4th. Right, okay, I was expecting Perez to take a little longer to get to that kind of point, but everyone's passed the pit entry again, and they've continued on. We might be in a spot of bother here. Everyone's in the same situation, though, tyre-wise, and it's because Perez is on mediums as well, so he's got the tyre advantage at this point in time. Zhou Guanyu down to 8th as well. Tsunoda has taken a second out of Hülkenberg. Alex is actually overtaking Max here, legitimately. I feel like Alonso's message for pitting would have come in now if he was. It's been a while since we've watched a highlight, so, I mean, great angle. Thanks for that banner. And that one, for that matter. But just round the outside. Perez might have gone for Verstappen there as well. He did, yeah. Or I don't know if he held it, but he definitely got past him. He has held it, actually. Right, so I don't think Alonso's pitted, because I think the pit entry line comes up as you go, like, as soon as you get across the pit entry. So, interesting that Tsunoda has actually pulled Magnussen off Bottas. But he's cut the time to Piastri/Hülkenberg quite dramatically. Max is now pitted as well. So Albon's in the lead, briefly. I mean, can we go another lap? I don't know if we can go another lap. They have to be pitting, surely. Oh, this is not good. So they're doing one-stops, Piastri and Magnussen. I wonder if we should do the same with Albon. Because I need to be able to react to what they do. I mean, in a weird way, ideally, one of them overtakes us here. Alonso, crucially. It's pretty no one's near the pits. Like, we've gone so much further. It'd only be 10 seconds lower and we run less risk of getting stuck in traffic a second time. But we have to go now. We're on 30% tyres. Any longer and we're not going to get anywhere in this race. So I'm actually going to go one stop with Alex. Like, is it the second the pit entry message disappears? It says in pit. Yes, he is. And Alonso's come with us. Verstappen hasn't. So I picked the right moment then. I'd be intrigued to see what they do. What tyres is going on Alonso? Because drivers at the back are going soft to hard. 1.9. Back out ahead of him. And in 10th, actually. That's really good. Alonso's on hard as well. We've done the same as Alonso. So Tsunoda's offset because he's doing 2 stops, but just get these tyres up to temperature first. Alonso's had more problem coming out of the pits because he's come out basically into his teammate. So you've actually broken DRS on Alonso there. And 7 seconds to Ocon. Right, meanwhile, Tsunoda has caught Hülkenberg. Gasly's got to be pitting soon after that little group. Whereas the 2 medium runners might be a little bit longer. Perez, clear of everyone, has done the fastest lap. Alonso had the pace to get back into range with Alex almost immediately. How the hell has De Vries pitted in and ahead of Alex? I'm so confused. De Vries was on a soft tyre. How has he managed to do an in-lap faster than Alex's out-lap when Max Verstappen is doing 140? Verstappen and Russell on soft tyres have done 140 and 140.2. Nobody on a hard tyre has actually completed a lap yet, which is a bit annoying. I mean, Alonso's just gone around the pair of us, which is a tad irritating. How has he lost out to De Vries, though, who is miles behind? I don't understand what's just happened there with De Vries. I wonder if it was a weird yield situation, like pit exit yielding. Verstappen and Russell coming in now as well, so we'll bear in mind they've gone 2 laps longer on their softs. Yeah, Verstappen's done us despite being 2 seconds behind when we pitted, but Russell hasn't. And Tsunoda has got Hülkenberg there, crucially. He might be just be able to get Stroll despite Stroll having DRS, is he? He's lunging. He's making it stick. Good boy, Yuki. Make it work. Didn't seem to be making much inroad on Nick De Vries, but he just nabbed him randomly a little bit. As that is Max and Alonso still, by the way. We're still in exactly the same fight we were before. These 4 drivers. How are their tyres? Because I want to make sure I'm not doing worse than them. We're doing better than Alonso, but worse than De Vries, who pitted actually after us, in fairness. But so Perez, having been on mediums, has come out ahead of Verstappen, although there's now a gap to Verstappen, so it is... Third is a fight we're in. 4th is likely the fight we're actually in, once Alonso decides to actually, get away from us. But, meanwhile, Tsunoda is in 7th. In a bit of a train? Oh, he's still in the same train, actually. Tsunoda is in Albon and Alonso's train. He's the only one on mediums in that train as well. How are we doing on tyres? Okay. You know what, Yuki? Have a little bit of a nibble for a couple of laps. See if you can get maybe Russell or De Vries. Help Alex out a bit, maybe. As the only person doing a 3-stop, apart from Norris, who kind of was forced onto it. A 2-stop, sorry. It's been that lot. Oh, look. He's just done it there as I switch back to him. Good timing, Yuki. Beautiful work. Is he about to just dive down De Vries as well? He is. I don't know what to do with him and Alex now. Alex, can you get Fernando, please? Cheers. No, never mind. Yuki is technically on a different strategy here, so I don't really know whether to let them fight or let them through. Because I can't really tell Alex to let Yuki through because it will hinder Alex. But Yuki might just do them both here. Ooh, he got squeezed out a bit there. Alex got Fernando, though, crucially. So if Yuki could be opportunistic on Fernando, then he might just naturally get the DRS off... Ooh, bit crazy there. Might naturally get the DRS off Alex. 1.6 on the fuel? It's going a little bit better on the fuel, I think. There's going to be still some saving in the last 10 laps, probably, but we'll see where we are at lap 40 on that front. Still a chance of an incident, of course. But don't forget, Yuki does have to pit again. If there's a red flag, then Yuki's in a sensational position. But I think realistically, as long as Yuki's in this, then he's going to be gaining ground on Sainz and Leclerc, who are kind of the 2 markers for him. I think he'd come out ahead of Sainz no matter what at this point, because it's 22 seconds to Sainz. Because he needs to get out ahead of Sainz, so then he can then close up on Ocon and Leclerc towards the end of the race. So as long as he's doing comparable lap times to them, there's no real point pitting him. 138.6s from him there, as Sainz does a 139.3. Okay, so he's not really lapping that much faster than Leclerc. Oh, he did that lap. This might be the lap. Actually, that's a very valid point. He's only got a U soft to go on to because of the stupid situation, but yeah, no, I think he still have to do a medium and then just really go for it. So he's 24 seconds ahead of 24 seconds ahead of Leclerc at this point. Only 10 ahead of Ocon. But I think this absolutely has to be the last lap we do on these tyres in this position. Did a 138.6 in this train. I think Perez is running away with it now. Ocon and Leclerc did 139.6. He was a full second faster than Ocon and Leclerc there. So he's building that gap, which is crucial, but now struggling a little bit even with DRS because he's on 30% tyres. I thought De Vries was following him in there. I thought that was a bit weird, but we will come out of this 11th. There's no way in hell that Ocon and Leclerc don't get past. We should get out well ahead of Sainz, which is the crucial point. And not as far behind Leclerc as I thought we were going to be. Only 5 seconds. That pit stop is only 16, 17 seconds total, which is a bit of a surprise. I suppose it's on the inside, isn't it? So you don't lose too much because you're kind of on the inside of everything rather than going round. And interestingly, you can just go full 5 and not worry about it. Not even take off or put on curbs. Alex is still on track. Still about 2 seconds behind Verstappen, crucially. I mean, I don't know where this has come from. Maybe it's just the car part knowledge coming in. I mean, they must be doing well on confidence, yeah. I mean, that's part of it too. But Tsunoda, after one lap, has cut the gap from 5 seconds to 4.7. It was five and a bit seconds. I can't remember what it was precisely, but it's now 4. Although De Vries has just taken Albon, which is a bit odd. Still a train all the way to Hamilton. So yeah, Yuki should be just basically just scything time. Ooh, Russell's joined the party. What's happened here? Why is Russell going to come through? Why is Alonso now not on our tail? As I'm not looking at the wrong person. 10 laps to go. Fuel is going to need to be saved at some point. Ooh, okay. Yuki might need a new gearbox before the end of this season. There's 80 races to go. We might just have to suffer with Yuki's gearbox. Oh, it's because Verstappen's fallen into De Vries and Russell. He's given them a tow, which has pulled them away from us slightly, but we've got back into it, thankfully. Verstappen's lapping slowly, for whatever reason. As Tsunoda has indeed caught Ocon. And the Ferrari just nabs Ocon for now, but I suspect the Ferrari's coming next. It's 10 seconds then to Zhou Guanyu, who's by himself, detached from the back of all this. Tsunoda's got Leclerc as well. Same place, actually. That's 9th. Thank you for the confirmation, Crofty. He's making time on Zhou Guanyu, hand over fist, but we'll just take this opportunity to actually conserve. Maybe bring the tyre temperatures down a bit as well, so you can make a true push. Gonna have to be wary with Alex's tyres. They're going to be close to 30 by the end. De Vries has dropped out of DRS, actually. Although we'll be back in it for the next lap. Tsunoda has entered a bit of a tete-a-tete with Leclerc. He's kind of dragged him along whilst he was fuel saving. He is getting closer to Zhou Guanyu still, but Leclerc just still held on to Yuki as he's continued on. Got his temperatures down a little bit. Still having to conserve fuel. We're still a little bit under on that front. But meanwhile, well, I was hoping that was the highlight for Alex getting Verstappen there, but it's actually Yuki getting Zhou Guanyu for 8th. There's the karma, by the way. It's taken 48 laps of the race. But the man who stopped Yuki from getting into Q3 and forced him to qualify 15th has now been taken by Yuki. Dropped Leclerc in the process. Wow, actually, this fuel save is going to be a lot tighter than I thought it was going to be. Ooh, that's a problem. She's got Tsunoda back, but I think we'll have it long term. Last lap, we can destroy the tyres, as he is... He's actually taken him before DRS, which is probably a bad point, because I think there's detection points there. You don't really want to be dragging Zhou around with you there, Yuki. Oh, I once taken Russell. This is 2nd place. I mean, George sort of slightly enters the wall there. Wait, hang on. Where's that on track? Before the second detection point. Great work there, Alex. Russell didn't have DRS there. Perez is the fastest lap on the last lap, because of course he does. Tsunoda dropped Zhou Guanyu in the process. Ricciardo was the only person lapped, bless him. As Alex heads towards the line, it is Alex from Russell, from Verstappen, from De Vries, Alonso only 6th, Hamilton 7th, Tsunoda finishes 8th, Zhou Guanyu behind in 9th, Leclerc 10th. I never came back after the last highlight, but that was semi-deliberate. Matches Yuki, of course. Technically a street track, so unsurprising Perez mastered it, but what an unusual podium that is for F1 Manager. And finally something a little different. Now don't get me wrong, I believe there were issues with both Sainz's car and Lance Stroll's car. To see Lance Stroll only make up 2 places in a race is a little bit surprising considering recent results. His fastest lap wasn't all that bad either, but yeah, Lando obviously suffered from a incident which forced him to take a second pit stop that he didn't necessarily want to do, and probably a front wing change involved and maybe just car damage as a whole. Still managed to beat Daniel Ricciardo, which is somewhat depressing for him. But Ocon didn't really make an impression on the race. Carlos Sainz didn't make an impression on the race. Like I say, I think he was damaged. So was Charles Leclerc, just fundamental car damage. Zhou Guanyu's engine or gearbox issue did actually hamper him in the actual race, down to 9th, the kind of thing that we normally do. Yuki Tsunoda optimized to 8th from 15th, getting the person that forced him to start in 15th. That's satisfying in its own regard. Fernando actually drops places to 6th, Max drops places to 4th, Alex drops 1 place to 2nd, and Sergio Perez, in a fully functioning Red Bull, comes from 12th to win the whole darn thing. Qualified 2nd, of course, but then had a 10-place penalty. So, in a weird way, sort of justified. George capitalising, and quietly in the background, 3 podiums in a row for George. Max has already won, of course, but Sergio closes the point gap by winning that one. Charles only 1 point. Fernando still no real hope of changing that, really. But Sainz with no points allows George to get in touching range of 5th in the drivers. Lewis Hamilton only 27 points behind Lance Stroll as well. Alexander Albon gets Yuki Tsunoda in the inter-team battle with 18 points. Yuki's earlier podium now matched by Alex, who has something that Yuki doesn't, a pole position. Nick De Vries climbs a whole bunch of places for that 5th place finish as well to 15th. No other changes towards the bottom. Williams, though, with 12 more points, only 8 points behind Alpine now. I did say it was going to be a thing, but thankfully, obviously, Alex getting big points and Zhou Guanyu dropping a lot further down than I was expecting, possibly. Only gets Williams 12 points. I said, you know, if they continue on the way they were starting that race, a 30-point haul may not have been unreasonable, but only ends up 12, and crucially, actually, we get 10 more points than them. So I don't think they're coming for 5th, but if this happens in the last 2 races, it's going to be quite close between McLaren and Williams if it stays like this. And yeah, still sort of holding firm in 2nd there on the old pit stop front. Got all our sponsorship objectives that race as well, which is nice. Something has failed there, rear wing, that's fine. Yeah, so this is Yuki's gearbox situation. He has one on 41%, which obviously would dip under. So it's whether we just suffer or we spend 1 million and get him a new one and take a penalty. Cost cap wise, I think we're actually fine, but it's not like he's got practice gearboxes either. This is the second time in 3 months we've been asked to shut down the wind tunnel. I mean, we're not doing any actually, that's the point. We're not doing any design projects from this point onwards. Although I don't really know exactly what's just happened here. It won't let me do any more, even though I'm only trying to do research. I've accidentally clicked through a little bit there, but we have had our driver development come through. That's where Lawson is, by the way, in case you're wondering. I've never really focused on him, but Alex is cornering up, adaptability up again. It's the one thing I wanted him to stop gaining, but he just won't stop doing it. Yuki's overtaking has gone up, as has his reactions by 3, which is massive, because that was sort of one of his lacking ones a little bit, and that's gone straight up to being now a strength of his, really, amongst the, well, it's his top 3 now with overtaking and accuracy, so still want him to get plenty more control, please. Progress made there. Alex actually average rating 85. We're also sitting quite nicely financially as well, 26 million. But that's where I'm going to leave things off. Only Qatar and the UAE to go. Just 2 races back in the Middle East. And that's it for season 2. But thank you for watching. What a ridiculous weekend. Finally, I mean, it's not carnage, but it is drama and a huge change in our fortunes. I have no idea where that kind of performance has been the last week and a half of recordings anyway. But anyway, if you enjoyed that, like, comment, subscribe, you know the deal by now. And until next time, thank you for watching. Ta-ra!